The federal government targets a 70% of broadband penetration and not more than 390 naira per gigabyte by the year 2025. Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board and the National Insurance Commission NICOM signed insurance service guideline. Plus all rises on tight supplies. This is Business Express on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, and we're reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. They're catching Baba Tunde. You're welcome. Good morning to you. Data from the Apex Bank indicates that borrowing through ways and means advances from the Central Bank of Nigeria by the federal government has risen from 17.46 trillion naira as of December 2021 to 19.01 trillion naira. The figure represents an increase of 1.55 trillion naira within the first 4 months of 2022. The 19.01 trillion naira owed the Apex Bank by the federal government is not part of the country's total debt stock, which stands at 41.6 trillion naira as of March 2022. The public debt stock only includes the debt of the federal government of Nigeria, 36 state governments, and the Federal Capital Territory. Ways and Means Advances is a loan facility through which the CBN finances the government's budget shortfalls, and according to Section 38 of the CBN Act of 2007, the Apex Bank may grant temporary advances to the federal government with regard to temporary deficiency of budget revenue at such rate of interest as the bank may determine. Still with the Apex Bank, it says it has increased the minimum bid for non-interest asset-backed securities to 100 million naira from 1 million naira seen in the exposure draft it issued in 2020. This was revealed in a CBN circular signed by the Director of Financial Markets Department of the CBN, Angela Sere Jembi, titled Framework for the Operationalization of the Central Bank Nigerian Non-Interest Assets-Backed Securities, and issued in June 2022. The CBN Non-Interest Assets-Backed Securities was created to deepen Nigerian financial markets, enhance financial inclusion, and provide a liquidity management instrument that adheres to Nigerian non-interest finance principles. So how much is the naira exchanging for other currencies? Three years of unbroken democracy has witnessed the implementation of different national plans, economic reforms, monetary and fiscal policies, and all aimed at putting the economy on the growth trajectory. Now, how far has these helped growth pattern amid recovery from COVID-19 and now energy and food crisis propelled by the Russia and Ukraine war. To discuss these issues, of course, bedeviling the whole global economy, with me in the studio is Splendor Agbonpolo, Executive Director, Initiative for Leadership and Economic Watch in Nigeria. You're welcome to Business Express, Mr. Splendor.
Thank you.
Yes, and I hope you're having a very splendid morning.
Yeah, great. Great morning.
Okay, so we want to have your take when we talk of 23 years of unbroken democracy. How would you rate the economic performance of the nation, of course, 1999 till now?
From the look from 1999 economy, it was at a time relatively to what it is at this moment. You will see a little, you see a very wide disparity as to what the economy was and what it is at the moment. If you look at the statistics, it's very clear. At 1999, the debt rate was low as at that time. And if you consider the debt rate now, the debt level now at the national external debt is at very high, at a high level. So making comparison, that is to say that democracy has not felt well in terms of impact that it has made in respect to Freedom of Information Act was passed into law as to the coexisting of Nigeria as an entity. In that respect, democracy has really felt well. Looking at the economy, which is one of the reasons why democracy should make economy work better than the previous time it was a military regime. And looking at the from 1999 to 2023, I can tell you that the economy has become so large that you can attest to in terms of what we are giving for the economy at the moment. And you can also agree with me that the economy has really felt well in terms of looking at the technology in that aspect. Before 1999, let's say 1999 to 2022, the information technology has really thrived. And you're looking at the digital economy that we are really setting now at the global economy. The nation has moved very well fast in that direction. But that's not to say that in the management of the economy, that is another aspect of the economy, the management of the economy and the economy itself. The economy has not been properly managed. Let me be very frank with you in terms of resources. Rather, government has not had their profit in terms of additional profit that accumulated to at least pay part of the debt that we own. Rather, it is on the increase.
Okay, if I may come in there, when we look at the issues of debt, of course, we've seen rising debt levels across the globe, not so peculiar to Nigeria. Of course, it was further exacerbated by COVID-19 that just shut down the economy practically all over the world. And within that period, there was attention placed at diversification. What do you make? You began to talk about some of these sectors, but how would you rate our diversification away from oil?
The diversification from oil has not really been hit at the point, in the sense that it's still at the minimal level. We are not fully deaf to proper diversification of the economy in terms of improving the value chain, agricultural value chain, which is why it is so vast that we are yet to tap into. And that aspect is also very at the minimal level. If you're looking at diversification, it is not sector, non-oil sector, and that has not been fully harnessed. And if you look at the level of the unemployment rate also, that also accumulated to the fact that aspect has not been fully explored. Because when you begin to create micro industries within the local communities that will boost economic development of Nigerian state, at that point the level of debt rate would have employment rate would have reduced, in the sense that there would have been job creation in the process. If I set up an industry now, I will employ people, and that will reduce the number of unemployment rate in Nigeria. So for that, if you look at the level, the over bloated unemployment rate as to what is supposed to be in that area of economic diversification, construction, it has not really impacted well on the job creation.
Okay, so
I believe.
yes. So let me just cut you in. If we're looking at the job creation you have just mentioned, a very critical issue at that, because we have a very high percentage of youth unemployment. But the federal government, we agree, cannot do this all alone. So if you were to provide a solution, what would that be to see that at every level, no matter how minimal, that these jobs are created without having to wait for the almighty federal government to do all that?
There's a lot that the government can do. First of all, the government needs to review the policy. There is need for policy review. If you are implementing policies that are not working, from all indications, maybe there's a slow in the implementation, or it is not really putting that record that we need on the board. It means that there is need for the government to sit down and look at the policies and look at how some of these policies can be reviewed and be redirected and re-engineered towards profit making, so that we will not just be a consuming nation, but rather will be a profit-making nation. That some of these profits that will be added up, it will accumulate with time, with which you can also set up and clear part of the debt, the external debt that we are owing. So to that effect, I think government need to look at private sector-driven economy. That is everywhere in the world. Economies are driven by private. The need for government to sincerely invest into private sector, give them that leverage, that incentive to be able to strive in those areas they are good at. I think it will expand the economy at that point. There is need for government to review the policies, and there is need for government to look at areas and also change some managers within the sector that are managing the economy. If the managers are not also doing very well at their point of engagement, the government cannot be done by one person. Government is exclusive. It has to do with department, it has to do with several institutions of government that put together, that make up a government. If all the institutions are working and the heads there, they are doing very well, it will accumulate to the center to bring about national development. So there is need for government to sincerely put in resources, let it get to those that really need it to do business in Nigeria, to be able to generate revenue, and also to also create employment. And government need to also increase their tax base, not on multiple taxing, but I'm looking at tax base. You have to increase your tax base to be able to set up, initiate measures to create, generate revenue that will expand the economy. It is very also important at this moment to be able to cushion the effect of the COVID-19 that really impacted on the nation negatively. Okay,
so what will be your assessment on monetary policies during this period?
That is very critical, and I want to be very frank with you on that. When I was looking at making my research on the level of price control as at 1999, before 1999, and taking a look at 2023 years of democracy, when I did my comparative analysis, I realized that the price control as at between 1993 to 1999, the price control was very effective. Government control prices of goods and services in the market, and that also will add to the economy. If government is not in charge of controlling prices of goods and services in the market, that means that's a serious problem, and that in time it will accumulate to a serious crisis, economic crisis. You can see inflation now is high. As of last year, it's ended at 15%. Now, there is even a projection that before the December, the debt rate would have increased by 45 trillion. That is very alarming, and there is need for government to look at how this debt can be reduced. Let's say, for instance, government can decide to there is a Supreme Court judgment that sanctioned that oil companies that are owing about $60 billion. If some of these monies are recovered, if government can go on revenue recovery drive to begin to recover some of these monies that is being owed by these oil companies, with it we can settle part of the debt, and that will reduce inflation, and that will improve the economy drastically.
I think it's not even just about the oil companies. I don't have the figures of it right now, but I'm certain also through Project Lighthouse, there's been a discovery of just within, I think, about between 5 and 10 MDAs, if I'm correct, that we have people doing business with government who says government are owing them, but at the same time, they are also owing government money in trillions as well. How do we reconcile this?
It's about management, monitoring and evaluation control. It is poor here. It is all. It's on the hand of the paper. Let Nigerian government be practical about the monitoring of the economy. The control system of this nation of the economy is weak. There is need for government to strengthen economic control system. I can't even see that in place yet. Somebody can just come up and begin to increase their prices of goods and services in the market. There's nothing anybody can do at that point. So it becomes so disappointing that we are not still in control of prices of goods and services in the market, and that is a challenge to the economy.
Some of this, of course, reasons most people give for increasing their prices will include things like essential services, for instance, like transport, like power supply, and what have you. They have given all these excuses that they would have to increase to be able to break even. But I want to conclude on this note that before I let you go, how do you see Nigeria coming out of this price crisis?
Nigeria will come out if we decide to do the needful and be practical with it at this moment. It's not about politics. It's about the economy. And the economy deals with figures. You must be able to put the statistics together, dot the lines and cross the T's for you to be able to have results. So for that, I see Nigeria is so vast in terms of abundant resources, vast ocean of resources, and we can't be in the ocean and be crying of thirst at this moment. So there is need for government to look inward and begin to see how they can reject some of these policies, so that to which they can also affect some of these areas that need to be affected, that will bring about development. A policy is very key. Proper policy implementation is key to any economy in the world. You can't jettison it.
So essentially,
they need the sustainability of any country, of any nation in the world, is predicated on the need for the government to continue to make profit by doing business and be getting return on investment, profit, to be able to grow the economy. If the country is not, if Nigeria is not making profit and is not having up, so we are not growing. That means that we are not growing.
So essentially, monitoring and evaluation is key.
Is very key to national development.
Okay, I must thank you, Mr. Splendor, for coming on the program this morning. Mr. Splendor is an ambassador of peace and national development, and of course, executive director, Initiative for Leadership and Economic Watch in Nigeria.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a nice day.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
So next is our Surviving COVID-19 series, as put together by Olainka Ojo.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Have you heard of CBN? They said that time after this COVID-19, that my market will not go like before. I know them money to do that business unless I sell small.
If you have an opportunity to access CBN, what would you do?
My business will go up.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with
the federal government, through the Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, Mariam Katagum, has called on the World Trade Organization WTO members to work collectively to undertake reforms that will revitalize the organization and enhance its role in global economic policy making. The minister stated this at a session on challenges facing the multilateral trading system during the 12th World Trade Organization Ministerial Conference taking place in Geneva, Switzerland. She stated that members have a shared responsibility to work collectively to strengthen the WTO and undertake necessary WTO reforms that would revitalize the organization and enhance its role in global economic policy making. The minister said Nigeria believes that members need to seek innovative solutions to the multifaceted challenges of the WTO to ensure it adapts to the evolving global socio-economic environment and remain relevant. The federal government says it is targeting 70% of broadband penetration and not more than 390 naira per gigabyte by 2025. The Minister of Communications and Digital Technology, Isa Pantami, said this while delivering a keynote address at a conference and exhibition of Association of Telecommunications Companies of Nigeria (ATCON) in Abuja. The program tagged National Strategic Mobilization for the Actualization of National Broadband Target of 70% conference and exhibition had the theme realizing the new set target of 70% of broadband penetration. Pantami, who was represented by the Director of IT Infrastructure Solutions Department, National Information Technology Development Agency (NITDA), Dr. Usman Gambo Abdullahi, said broadband is the backbone of a digital economy. He added that the event is aimed at x-raying the current level of broadband penetration and consider areas of improvement not only to achieve the 70% broadband penetration but exceed it. Let's now take a trip to the commodities market. The Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board (NCDMB) and the National Insurance Commission (NICOM) have signed insurance services guideline which will oblige the oil and gas industry to patronize the local insurance sector, thereby retain spend in the economy. The guidelines will also address loopholes that have been identified while implementing the provisions of the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act, particularly sections 49 and 50, which deals with insurance of oil and gas activities. The Executive Secretary NCDMB Simbi Kesie Wabote and Commissioner for Insurance Sunday Thomas signed the guidelines on behalf of the organizations in Yenagua. The Executive Secretary stated that the provisions of sections 49 and 50 of the Act require all operators engaged in any form of activity or project in the oil and gas industry to ensure all insurable risk related to its oil and gas business with an insurance company through an insurance broker registered in Nigeria. Oil prices rose on Tuesday in a session of volatile trade as tight global supplies outweigh worries that demand would be pressured by a flare-up in COVID-19 cases in Beijing and more interest rate hikes. Brent crude rose 26 cents to settle at $122.27 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose 26 cents to settle at $120.93 a barrel. Trade was volatile with prices down about $3 a barrel earlier. The Nigerian equities market maintained its bullish performance last week to close the week positive as the all-share index gained 0.55% in the week ended 10th June 2022. Figures released by the Nigerian Exchange Group shows an increase to 53,201.38 index points, while market capitalization rose to 28.68 trillion naira. A total of 1.83 billion shares valued at 19.4 billion naira were traded in the week across 21,723 deals. All other indices finished lower with the exception of NGX 30 CG Premium Mary Value Oil and Gas Lotus Islamic Index and NGX Industrial Goods Index, which appreciated while the NGX ASM Index closed flat. The financial services industry led the activity chart in terms of volume of shares traded, while 1.17 billion shares valued at 12.4 billion naira in 10,657 deals. The conglomerates industry followed, while the consumer goods industry stood in third place. Trading in the top three equities by volume were FBN Holdings, TCNN, and UBA, which jointly accounted for 1.136 billion shares worth 8.32 billion naira in 2,906 deals. Let's take a trip to the global market with Bosley Eva.
Global stock markets were sent reeling on Monday, with investors reacting to the potential for more aggressive rate hikes by central banks in Europe and the United States. European stocks are expected to open in mixed territory on Tuesday after sharp declines in global markets on Monday, amid fears that the central banks will be forced into aggressive monetary policy tightening with inflation remaining high. Shares in Asia Pacific mostly tumbled on Tuesday after the S&P 500 fell overnight and closed in bear market territory. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index recovered from earlier losses and was hovering above the flat line 0.30%. Nikkei 225 in Japan fell 1.32%, while the Shanghai Composite up 0.42%. US stock futures on their own part rose early Tuesday morning after the S&P 500 on Monday dropped back into bear market territory ahead of the Federal Reserve's two-day policy meeting this week. Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 301 points. S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 futures are both on the positive lane as well. African markets have just opened with no figures yet as at the time of this report. Boss said able Business Express.
And of course, this is where we drop the anchor. The program returns tomorrow at 3 p.m. Do have a wonderful day ahead.